we're going to be working with database tables and attributes. This lesson will cover things like importing tables, adding and relating columns, creating active columns, working with the query and transform toolbar, as well as some basic table design and looking at transfer rules within Manifold. To start off with, go under File and import a new drawing. And we'll just bring in the land file. It's a shape file. And I'm not going to bring in one of the columns. When you import a table, you can bring in different attribute columns, and we're going to just bring in these three: ID, LC, and color. So here we have our land drawing. The coordinate system isn't right, but we're going to ignore that for now because we're only going to work with the attribute. Just to get everything ready, let's go under File, Import again, and this time let's import a table. I'm going to import a table called land value, and these are just some dummy values that I made up to illustrate the idea about relating one database table to another one. And here's our land value table. It's got an LC column that's going to match the LC column on our land drawing. If you click the plus sign on the land drawing, you'll see a land table come up. Double click that and you can see the actual attributes that are in the land table. We're now in the table view of Manifold. Under Table, there's a number of things that we can do. We can open the drawing to this table. I'll close that off. Or we can add different things. I can add a column, and in this case I can give it a column name, and also set up the type. There are a lot of different types that we can add. And you can look a lot of this up in the help files to see some more when you get more comfortable with Manifold. We can also add active columns as well, and I'll show you a little bit of that in just a second. The other thing we can do is look at the table design, and this tells us all the records that are in a table. It gives us their name, their type, the size of the data, as well as the transfer rules, and we'll talk about transfer rules in a little while. But you can see we don't not only have the base elements in a table, but we have intrinsic values. That is attributes that Manifold stores native to the data structure. So we'll know the total number of branches or coordinates within an object, the X and Y coordinate as well as the latitude and longitude, and information such as the area, bearing, and length. These are automatically computed by Manifold, as well as information as to whether an object is selected or not. The first thing we'll do is go under Relations. And we're going to create a new relation. I want to relate this land table with our land value table. So here we can create a new relation. And in this case, the LC value in our land table is going to match up with the LC column in the land value table. When I hit OK, it asks me what columns I want to include, and I'll just include the land per hectare. So here, for different land cover types, I have different values per hectare. And again, these are just made up. They don't have any basis in reality. But again, it's just for illustration and will help us better understand some of the concepts within attribute tables and Manifold. Now this column we really can't do anything with because it's in another database table. If we right-click on the table, we can, or on the column, we can hit this button or this selection here that says Flatten, and that will permanently make this column part of the table. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to keep things a little bit dynamic within our database. Other things we can do when we right-click is we can sort the values, ascending or descending. We can delete a column if we want, or we can format the columns. We can also go under View and then Columns to say what columns do we want to view. Well, we have all the ones that we're looking at here that are checked off, but another one that I'm interested in is the actual area field. So this is the intrinsic value for area, and it will be in square meters. And again, this is grayed out, which means we can't change the value. The next thing we're going to do now is create an active column. So again, we'll go under Add and then Active Column. And we're going to create a function. And what this function does is what I want to do is calculate the number of hectares for each polygon. So I'm going to change the name of the field or the new column to hectares, and I can compute this every time a user asks, or just do it on the fly, so it'll automatically be up to date. Now what pops up is a script. Your script will be blank. I've already written one. We'll delete this for now. And basically I'm saying I want FUNC, or the function, to be equal to the record data of the area intrinsic value divided by 10,000, and that gives me the number of hectares. And basically what we have now is a new column that's automatically updated based upon the area. So if these areas change, the hectares will change. Well, what I'm going to do next is add another active column. And we'll call this one total value. And I'll call it function 2. And again, we'll do this one on demand, or on the fly. And I'll paste my function 2 in. Now what I'm basically doing is I'm saying take the value from function, or FUNC, and multiply it by the value per hectare, and that'll give me the total value. So here you can see I've got all those fields listed. The next thing I'm going to do is add another column. And we'll call this new value, and we'll make it an integer. So now I have a new value. What I'm going to want to do is actually take new value, and I'm going to fill it with the total value of the land. So now I have my new values. One of the things we can do in Manifold are set transfer rules. And transfer rules basically say, how do I want values to be displayed if I've done some geometric change to the object? For instance, if I split a polygon in half, what do I want those values to do? Do I want them to just be copied from one polygon to the others, or do I want to somehow split them in a different way? Well, by doing a copy when a single object, or when one object becomes many objects, I can just copy the value, so there'll be the same values in each area, or I can set a transfer rule to say just divide it equally or proportionally. Well, let's take a quick look at that. Okay, back in my map, I'm going to select an individual polygon. I'll select this one here. If I double click on it, we can see the values. So the total value is close to 200, or close to 300,000. The next thing I'm going to do is insert a line. And I'll split this polygon a little bit more to one side. Okay, one of the things I'm going to do next is I'm going to take that selected polygon and I'm going to split it with all the objects. In other words, this is going to wind up turning into 2 different polygons. I'll hit apply. Now you'll notice here that those 2 polygons were split in half, and we've got duplicate information because we copied them. What I'm going to do next is undo what we had just performed. So now we're back with one record again. What I'm going to do next is set up the transfer rule again. And this time, instead of just copying it, I'm going to set it up as an equal division. We'll hit OK. And now we'll split it. And if we go back into the table, you'll see that we've split it between the two polygons. So they're still the same value, but they're half the size of what they used to be. I'm going to go back in and undo that as well. And undo. Also, to help things speed up a little bit, I'm going to change the active column. So here I'll right click, I'll edit it, and instead of on the fly, just on demand. And I'll do the same for total value. So again, we'll set that for on demand. Now back in my table, let's go back to our field and set the transfer rule, but this time I'm going to want it to be proportional. I have an equal division, and in this case we'll make that as proportional as total value. If we go back into our land drawing, we can split it. And here you can see that the value is actually changed in proportion to its size. So it's a clever way to begin to change data after a spatial analysis task. Finally, just to show you that in tables as well, we can use the query toolbar. We can find all those land cover values that are equal to, let's say A. And we can select from the table. And there are a number of different ways we can update a table as well. And you can look at the help file as you get more comfortable with Manifold. But this should at least give you some basic understanding of how tables work and some of the things that you can do with tables within Manifold.